Okay, so if you're gonna have scrutiny towards the candidate, base it on merit, tangible expectations. Don't be like me when I started off, in my observation of Tiffany. The first impression that I had immediately was displeasure towards the flamboyance of the blonde selection that she used for her hair. On the side note, I think since then she's done it in a more appealing sight for the view. Has been more appealing, and I'm seeing a lot of catchphrases out that really gives us a bad look, and uplifting each other. I know we want to be polished, but it's not based on a sense of they want her to be more articulate, or you're not being encouraging. You're being condescending. A lot of people, a lot of people are being condescending, and if it's one thing to want our people to be a little bit more polished, but don't base your dislike. Don't stick with your dislike being so condescending. And they're saying words like ghetto, and if she has fire and she has zeal, then we're supposed to be her brain. I think even if a person has fire and zeal, you might even want to have a little bit more tolerance of, some of their imperfections. If we know that they're going to have fire and zeal behind, real big historical Goliath type of battles, you're going to need somebody who's scrappy. You're going to need, that person's not going to, it's not going to be, the most articulate poet. If that person is not the most articulate poet, have some patience for that. If they have zeal and fire against some of these Goliaths, because the most, smooth sounding person is not going to have that grit to stay in the trenches with you. So, that's you're not being a good steward of leadership. You're not being, you're not set, and so, and I think there's too much of that with Tiffany. Nate Rogers did some excellent coverage. I'm hoping that Jermont Terry steps up his coverage over at CBS, Fox News, Chicago's Nate Rogers has been doing an excellent job with the coverage. And they say, we have a government system where you have three parties, and I would argue that those three parties are one third. Those three parties are 1/3 of power, and that the media is then the other 2/3, I would argue. And so I say that in my observation of in contrasting Nate Rogers to Jermont Terry's bias against Tiffany Henyard. I think Jermont still asked some potent, objective questions. One being particular, how ancient this caucus situation has been. He asked that question, but you want to place that. You want to take the time then to place your own imprint. This is an opportunity where, as a journalist, you're supposed to place your own imprint of what's righteous in your belief of what's occurring. And I believe that that Nate Rogers has been more courageous in his journalistic responsibilities in that area, not basing it on petty grievances. When in his interview with Tiffany, I saw he allowed in the portions for her to talk about. We have Brandon Johnson talking about $300 million in taxes. A lot of these COVID hoax mayors are in a deficit. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the migrant crisis beyond this aspect of the fiscal aspects of it, of the mismanagement. You want to, if you're going to give assistance, don't allow the assistance to place the budget in the deficit. You have Brandon talking about a $300 million deficit. I saw in the segment with Nate Rogers where Tiffany discussed having a surplus that she wanted to give to the people. I saw from one of the broadcasts here with one of the local legislative contributors here, as far as his insights and being in the grassroots. I can easily see from this one broadcast that I saw and how he had it formatted, and his connections as well nationally. The brother here, Jedediah, was saying that what I lost my train there with So Jedediah's scrutiny was a little bit more savvy than most who were just being influenced with their emotion. I still think ultimately even his scrutiny of Tiffany was flawed for some of the same reasons, but at least he had a few more technical it'll be something that you want to be cognizant of in your as an argument to be able to have preparation towards. Since I don't believe that his accusations are from a profound, legitimate intent to be a bad official from Tiffany, as far as his accusations of the electioneering and her text messages to her supporters. It was some of the tangibles that she was pointing out she represented. He said risk from being in the communication, being mistaken for something that could be interpreted as electioneering. I don't think that was present in that scrutiny. And then on that surplus, as I was saying, and that's what I think he was talking about, that she was mentioning, that was kind of apparent in that text message to her supporters to rally them to that caucus, that was that Kangaroo Caucus of the so-called Bonaparte emperor there, and that surplus, if all of this years of scrutiny towards her, of the mass echo chambers, I haven't seen anything, that everybody calls a criminal and corrupt and all this, but I haven't seen anything that's a substance, that's in a line item, that's really been flagrant to me. That's really struck me as flagrant. It's been a lot of nitpicking at the line items, but it's been nothing, in my opinion, that's been warranted of anything substantial. They talk about some expenditures that was on the from Bezos, some expenditures that she did from Amazon, and I don't see that being out of the expenses for helping her constituents. Okay, and so again, let's not be based in emotions when we're analyzing this caucus. Oh, this is a get back. This is karma. You want us to take you serious with all of your knowledge, and then when it comes time to have a stance of integrity, you still want to wallow within shallow objections. Okay, and again, as I'm saying, I think that Tiffany's a formidable candidate. Even like I said, if I have, the height of a savvy contributor like Jedediah saying, okay, we have electioneering for something that's not electioneering, then I'm going to challenge you to use your intellect, man, to support this gritty candidate who you admit has fire and zeal. This is how you get an old hickory to object and fight against a cabal banking system, central banking system. This is how you get a old hickory to rally all races, even at the height of our differences with making Africans prisoners of war. He's still able to rally Africans in New Orleans and unify the nation in the Battle of 1812. Okay, during the Battle of 1812. Okay, it's because he was accepted not from being as an orphan. That's not the concern. Do you have zeal? Do you have fire? Against the redcoats. And so, this is how you need to view Tiffany Henyard. Okay, if you and I believe she has the stuff to meet my expectations. If you have Brandon Johnson in an adjacent city with a $300 million request in taxes, and here she is with her proportion of people adjacent to the in the same county of Cook, adjacent to the major city, and she has a surplus for her constituents. I mean, with this someone who sounds like a candidate who should be given more. That we can help. We can polish her up. But let's allow our scrutiny to be lifting our sister up. Let's lift our princess up. I don't like a lot of, this is in the same spirit that I'm seeing against her, that I'm seeing directed against Clarissa Shield. Let's lift up our sisters as we with the fire within, as we get to the fire of celebrating Clarissa Shields on Christmas with her movie. Let's have that spirit of celebrating our princesses, our queens, who have the fire and zeal, and if we want them to be polished, let's be encouraging with our observation. In our observations. Let's not, sabotage the process to disqualify their life's work from an honest, competitive contribution. That was reprehensible what I saw from that jock. And we see the information that Nate Rogers has pointed out from Tiffany's attorney, Max Solomon, where we have the rules saying that a candidate who's running for another office is disqualified. Not if you're a candidate who holds another office, you're not disqualified. But if you're a candidate who happens to be having in a concurrent campaign for her other responsibilities of glory, then no, you're going to be disqualified. You can't abuse and then reintroduce first of all, something that has outdated and ancient and archaic and it hasn't been relevant for 30 years. You can't find it being relevant as a structure just because your position as a state senator, committeeman, allows you to manipulate a disenfranchising technicality, allows you to introduce this rule on the day of the caucus to suppress a constituency, a constituent body. Okay, if you have a year of echo chambers on the internet, all of the mainstream commercial media is in collaboration with giving you a head start and bashing Tiffany Henyard. The whole 2/3 that I spoke of the media is in collaboration against this spirit, this zeal and fire, and you still have to make just a complete imbecile hypocrisy stipulation within your rules that any honorable judge who's not a kangaroo court is going to overthrow. And you're going to have the black male representation, and then all of these satellite parrots represent our humanity with journalistic contributions in that fashion. It's reprehensible. It's despicable. I'm shout Anton Daniels for rising above petty grievances, of rising above our imperfections as we judge one another. Shout out for Anton Daniels for recognizing that they were trying to draw him within that journalistic quicksand. No, we're not gonna, as Trina pointed out in that discussion with Jedediah. It was a very knowledgeable contributor who called in named Trina, and she said we're not going to have a gang-banging political process that's governed as a chitlin circuit, Apollo type of outcome. Okay? No disrespect to my Harlem Institute of Culture, of course. But we're not going to have our elections. We're not going to have our elections Apollo style. Okay? We're going to have a civil. Another aspect that they want to point out is the size of the building. We have the precedent. She arrived late. All these saying she arrived late, so they couldn't get let in because the fire marshal. Okay, so that's all planned and structured. If you're gonna have a party, first of all, the rule's not gonna let her in, and then you have a party, and with your party, it's gonna be at the fire marshal's capacity. When we have the precedent with, the meetings that you guys are in such an uproar about, and in your claims of karma, that precedent said that she had to have a facility that's of size, that's of capacity to meet the civic. The civic participation rights, to meet the participation rights of the citizens. And so again, if the judge is not a kangaroo court judge, that precedent should be of relevance. And the reinstatement of Tiffany to the ballot, or having another caucus. Okay? We can't have an Apollo style election. We need to have an election so that we can, analyze, who feels what support behind what candidate, so that we can then address and respond to, all of the candidates, what they want. Okay, it was an overwhelming amount of candidates who want this person. Okay, so maybe this is what we need to be focusing on with our agenda. Okay, it was some for this and it was some for that candidate. Let's give attention to all of their wants and attention to all of their issues. Now we have a different means of analysis, and so we need we want to be scientific with our analysis of the vote. Okay, this is these are things we shouldn't have to waste time with these types of internal lectures towards our political maturation. It's unbecoming, of our participation, and again, of our maturation as a collective body. It's embarrassing. It's juvenile, to have someone from the outside, to have our peers in the country, observe this kind of suppression. If she's such a bad candidate, why the need to rig the process? Why the need to rig the process? Is it because she has marches that you guys can't script? That she can have a march based off her own convictions and sincerity? Is that why we can't have her in office? She was appointed and then follow the script of the plantation? Is that why? The conspiracy has been the last trend of the last year, the basher? This is unacceptable. Okay, so another aspect that I noticed with Nate Rogers' professional journalism there, with his interviews. First of all, when he was interviewing Max Solomon, he cut the segment out when Max was speaking about how it completely disqualified Tiffany's participation. But then Nate paused it right there and then spoke about and then brought up. He said Max is alluding to the rule that disqualified her from, but you get a feel that he's pointing out that, hey, this is not a good deal. This is not something that you're supposed to be doing, and this is the way I feel about that. And then again, you want to make at some point of journalism, you want to make, you do go further with your credibility when you take a stance against what's obviously, a situation of integrity. The media force you guys to do that when they say, it's been Trump's unsubstantiated claims and things of that nature. They'll force you to do it when they want you to do it. You have to have the courage, if you want to have the glory of the credibility. It's going to be tough for you then maybe after that. But you want to have the credibility to make your what your point is made at that point. You can and another aspect that he did was he interviewed a third party attorney who as well pointed out that, hey, this was a free for all. She said it was a free for all. And so you have to have structure with the political process. Okay, we can't have this chaos. And if she's such a poor candidate, beat her fair and square. Okay, have a competitive process so all of the ideas can be placed forward as a bid for the people can then accept the bid from the candidate that they feel is of the most substance. Don't prevent, when you prevent a person from making their bid, you're not only are you being attacking her life's work, but you're attacking the benefits that the people then gets to implement within their destiny. And so a lot of people can justify having a lot of anger with such a reprehensible display that I hope is corrected about that caucus of December the 3rd here. Okay, I want to speak about some affirmations that's on the front of the continent that I feel Africa Times News has been directly responsible for in relation to the recent address of the tariffs, of the Trump tariffs, and the proven record of the Trump tariffs. And I alluded to the Belt and Road Initiative of China. And I've been going down and I've been going down this for a couple of conversations that I had, a couple of addresses for the Africa Times News, where and in that tariff, real quick, I was speaking about comparative advantage, in studying the now Secretary Treasurer Besant. I addressed him, and it was another woman in the article, economist article, Natalie, I believe. I don't recall her last name. I have to look in it. But yeah, I was speaking about how the Belt and Road Initiative needs to have a better sense of urgency with establishing that comparative advantage towards other countries that would then aid their ability to have compatibility with other nations, and then it'd be a better state for for their credibility, for their relationship with the continent. And since then, without reflecting too much on that one, the response has been since that discussion, since those that advice was given, China has came out. I haven't studied it yet. I got to go study it. I'm kind of premature with this address. I'm going to be following this up with analysis of those line items within the 31 billion that China proposed to 33 nations. In addition to that, what I saw was an African. I'm gonna look at the video here. In addition to that, 31 million to 33 nations. They spoke about the ongoing contribution that they were going to make, because my scrutiny was, I was saying how, hey, it's noble to do the roads. It's noble to pursue the roads and the hospitals, but that's not going to establish the comparative market analysis so that you can have more locations for your export surplus. And so they said they're going to as well continue to do those aspects of it, debt forgiveness. And then Biden followed that up with a pledge of $1 billion. Brother Anton Daniels and some of his listeners said that the $1 billion is going to be spent on just the leaders, to bribe them, and again, of course, that would then mean the continued exploitation of the mineral resources and the at the expense and neo-colonialization of against the interests of self-determination. And so again, even connecting those, when I'm going to do some follow-up again on the line items, but when you talk about to connect the dots, when you talk about a situation of local government in the diaspora like Tiffany Henyard, you would want, when you talk about the things that would be developed within her representation, you need to have someone with grit. You need to have savvy initiatives for her that can allow our partnering with the continent to utilize those resources to make the participation in these different sectors. Okay, you want to nurture the leadership like that with the fire and the zeal, with your ideas of ingenuity. We need to get back in the state of the black family at the inception of the Industrial Revolution, where we were key contributors towards the innovation. We still are. But it needs to be an ingrained cultural expectation, within our endeavors and celebration. That it needs to be a part of our culture of drill. How you gonna ride down? With your drill of those innovations of how it's gonna be spectacular for humanity from your STEM. Your children implement that STEM. I'm still going to have the Grand Marine Staffing webinar here coming up on December coming up in December. I believe I said the 22nd. There's the date that I was shooting for. Yeah, that's a Saturday. December 22nd. We're going to have the employment webinar. Good time on the Saturday for an employment webinar. I think it'll be I might marathon it and have the discussion ongoing. We might we're going to be talking about the itinerary in the next couple of days, and assessing your skill sets, discussing some of the training, some of the equipment that we're going to have a continuous changing of the equipment that we're going to be covering for troubleshooting, maintenance, installations, theory, of course. We'll talk about some theory. Well, not the theory. You can include that. You can expect that in your training. I'm not going to go in depth into theory probably during the webinar, but we might touch upon. We'll skim it. We'll do a lot of skimming in some of these areas. Skim a few pieces of equipment and just basically give you an understanding of how the structure of the employment would benefit you, some of the employment outreach resources, the development of your skill sets, the interview strategies that we're going to have, the ongoing day-to-day resources that you will have as you enter your apprenticeship, the opportunities if you're already advanced in your skills, tradesmanship, in your craftsmanship. We have multiple opportunities for seasoned craftsmen. We'll have a lot of opportunities for you all, even retirees. This will also be a great webinar for retirees because it's going to be an ecosystem. What the Grand Marine Staffing proposals for for the employment. It's going to be an ecosystem that we're going to champion and discuss during this webinar. So again, December 22nd, we're going to be continuously updating this itinerary and any other feedback, or if you want to reach out on the Black Forum Solution, blackforumsolution.com. You can be, I'm going to be doing updates there. And hopefully I'm going to do a better job as we approach the webinar of reaching out to a lot of the different candidates who I'm going to look forward to enjoying assisting with your with your enrichment and enjoying what I think is going to be some prosperous the golden age. I'm anticipating that with the Trump, a lot of people are in doomsday. I don't like the doomsday forecast of a lot of people. I don't think it's founded on anything. I think that the COVID hoax, you could say, I don't think that's so long as my main scrutiny towards Trump is preventing the COVID hoax. I think making the move with the defense secretary towards Ron DeSantis aids with such a that's going to aid with resistance to draconian tyranny. I think that's going to aid the resistance with that sailor being at the helm of the Defense Department. And so, so I'm looking forward to some to jobs, hiring, a lot of enthusiasm with hiring. The Tariffs podcast, I've shown the increase in imports, the increase in exports. A lot of the people who are spewing the doomsday, they're not citing any type of data, any type of homework besides rhetoric. No actual data from the implementation of the tariffs. No actual data, just it's anti-American to hope for bad news. First of all, without any initiatives or solutions, that's contrary. If you guys say you're going to have a shadow government of accountability, what are your plans? You're not talking about any of your plans with your shadow government of what you would recommend. I'm not hearing any of this. I'm not hearing anything expounded on you guys' ideas since this shadow government was proposed. Where is the constant contributions of what your ideas should be that's comprehensive in these areas? Why is it not being complementary to your doomsday forecast? These types of things can have impact on the stock market and people being hired. So if you're going to have a doomsday forecast, have your own solutions that's backed by your research, that has data associated with the policy that you're saying should be implemented. You're not giving any recommendations of policy that we should implement to counter the policy of the new administration. And that new administration has policy that all he does is cite past precedent, past prosperity with. That's all Trump does. Is give us history lessons on the prosperity of his policy. And so, if you're not doing that, go sit down. You're anti-humanity. You're against the prosperity of humanity if you're not having that as a part of your leadership. And so December 22nd, we're going to be doing that employment webinar with affirmations, within our spirit of anticipation.